My new toy, the world's new toy, is the Zoom app, and that's how we're doing the show from our homes. And we're joined now by Zach Braff and Donald Faison.
Aloha.
Hi, guys.
Zooming. Good morning. Let me just set the scene for those who can't see it. Zach, it looks like the Property Brothers were just over at your place.
Right.
Yeah. I have a nice new wall. I just finished renovating my house, so that wall looks fancy. Now talk about Donald, Ryan.
Now Donald is in his closet. And I think it's because it's soundproofing, probably.
It is soundproofing. I got great. I have great sweatpants and shirts that block all of the unwanted noise.
But it's also
right here are my golf shirts that I will not be using for some time. And I'm all right with it.
Donald, tell him how it's also about hiding from your kids.
And I am also hiding from my wife and children. The great thing about recording in the closet is that the kids don't want to hang out in here.
And we've been doing this podcast, and he records in there, and he admitted to me last night that he's been telling his wife and kids that he's recording a podcast even when he's not. He's just going in there and hiding.
Hey, just hanging out.
It's dire straight. Everybody is sort of trying to find. And we had a guy that listens to the show. One of our listeners called and he said, "Hey Ryan, here's the deal. I go to work. I actually was working a job still in the. Wasn't he in the liquor store? Working at the liquor store that was still open at the time. So
very much needed.
Very much needed. Alcohol sales are up. So he was there, and then he said he'd walk through the door, and his family would need every moment of him. So he would just park his truck on the street and sit there for about 25 minutes before he'd go in the door. So I think everybody understands that feeling. Zach, you mentioned the podcast. I got to hear. Tell us the premise of what you guys are doing. You're teamed up from the old Scrub days. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, well, we thought it would be fun to do a rewatch podcast of Scrubs. So we're basically starting from the very beginning and think of it like a DVD commentary, but also with me and Donald just laughing and telling jokes and anecdotes. And we're going to start, we just launched our first episode and we watched the pilot. We talk about it. We tell stories. We talked about our auditions. It's basically just kind of like if you have an interest of rewatching the whole show with Donald and I talking about behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, we made it for our fans. They were demanding that we did something. And, like everyone else, our schedule opened up and we were going to do this before the Corona thing happened. And we had a studio set and everything. And then this happened. And what it became was, how do we make it? How can we still make the show? And they were like, well, you can do it at home.
Actually, it's produced by iHeart. So they helped us figure out like how to do it from our homes. So, cause we thought like, oh, that sucks. We're gonna have to cancel doing it. And then iHeart was like, no, keep doing it because people are going to want content now more than ever. So please do it.
Yeah, it turns out, by the way, we're doing FM broadcast nationwide from our home. So you could really work from home for the rest of your lives if you wanted to, guys.
You have a very fancy microphone I see there, Ryan. We just have our computer.
This was a.
No, I got a mic. I got a mic.
Okay.
He has a very nice.
I got a
mic. Wait, give me. So Donald Faison and Zach Braff with us. Their new Scrubs rewatch podcast, Fake Doctors, Real Friends with Zach and Donald. It's on the iHeartRadio app. But just you talk about what you might do, but give me a little insight as to the conversation. You're going to talk about behind the scenes, or you're going to talk about what you guys are living through? Like, will there be an intersection of the two?
Right. We talk about everything. We talk about behind the scenes. We talk about what we were going through at that time. So when you start from the beginning, we talked about what we were doing before we got the pilot, before auditioning, what Zach's life was like, what my life was like. You know what I mean? And so the first episode, we're talking about the before and then making the pilot, and also, what you're viewing when you rewatch the show.
And also like how our lives changed. Donald was a working actor, but I was a waiter, and we kind of just share stories about like how overnight things changed, and just stories of just that, insane rise to being in the public eye and not knowing how to handle it, and Donald getting drunk and giving the president of the network a noogie. We tell stories like that.
I don't know that I did that. I did that.
But Zach, you mentioned that you were a waiter and then things changed for you. I think that kind of story is what gives a lot of people hope in our, your business, just being in LA and being in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I remember myself moving here and, going to Jerry's Deli and having the bagel chips and the jam and just watching actors from CBS Radford come in and out of there and, just dreaming that someday I'd work in the business. And the cool
look at you now, Ryan. Look
hosting
at you
from
now.
home. But I think the cool thing is, it gives people hope that things can happen if they really, really pursue it. And
well, Ryan, I one of the stories I tell on the podcast is that I had a small little indie come out before Scrubs, but I was still waiting tables because I had no money. And people would go to the movie theater and then come to this restaurant where I was working, like just after for dessert. And they do a double take. They would say, we just saw your movie. And I go, oh, thank you so much for going. And they were like, you were really good. I go, oh, thank you so much. Let me tell you about our specials. We have, it was so freaking humbling, because I always say only in Hollywood can you go see a movie and then have the star of the movie wait on you for dessert.
For double chocolate cheesecake afterwards, yeah.
Well, there's also the story that, you get jobs in Hollywood. And when you first start off, you don't make that much money. You don't make a lot of money. You make enough money to sustain, and you're living like kind of check to check in the beginning. And it's not until you get a job like, on television where you're working weekly that you're able to buy things for yourself. Like, I remember being broke, dude, like broke. And Scrubs changed my life.
Yeah, so we tell stories like that and just kind of share our experience. And then we talk through the show. So we'll just like a DVD commentary, we'll like say, oh, this scene was kind of funny. There's a funny story about this. And just kind of like, I don't know, if you like the show or even if you never watched the show, I think we promise a fun distraction.
Well, listen, we need it right now. Guys, thanks for zooming into us. Zach Braff, Donald Faison. Good luck hiding from your kids in your closet. Zach, I love the remodel, and we will tune in on the iHeartRadio app. Take care of yourselves, guys.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
See you later. Be well.
Bye, guys.
Be healthy.